Tick-tock, tick-tock. The clock echoes and rhythms as the arms hit to resound and announce that it is Pharm'o clock. Yes, what a topic! It's simply the continuation of the different types of carrier transports. Welcome all to Is Pharmacology Difficult podcast. I'm your host Dr. Radhika Vijay, MBBS MD Pharmacology, and this is the audio hub to get the best simplified basic tips, strategies, methods and lots of ideas to learn better, understand better and make your concepts crystal clear. If you really find and if there's a question hovering in your minds, is pharmacology difficult? Lend me your ears for a while and let in the magic of knowledge. First and foremost in my list is the uphill transport, commonly termed as the active transport. It has quite a few characteristics of its own and in a very special way to account for. Let me list these for you. First, active means. What do you mean by saying active? It simply means that this particular whole process is energy dependent. Second, what do you mean by saying uphill? Uphill means against the electrochemical gradient. That is, the direction is from low to high. For your novel information to add on is that the energy generation is via the membrane-bound ADPase. Now, whatever substance is transported, it really gets accumulated on one side of the membrane. I hope you're getting the whole picture. Third, this process is inhibitable. Yes, you can block it, you can stop it. Now, how to do that actually? Well, there are so many ways, and I will tell you. The first one is to decrease the ADP levels. That's quite a simple thing, nothing very complicated. Second one, you have to inhibit the metabolism. Now, let's talk about the first process. I told you can decrease the ADP levels. Now, this can be achieved via the use of certain substances which really work on decreasing the levels of ATP. And these substances, they are sodium cyanide and sodium fluorides, etc. Now, what about the fourth characteristic? Now, the fourth characteristic of this uphill transport, the transport mechanism for day-to-day metabolites or day-to-day substances, it can also be used by the drugs. Then there are found what we call as non-selective transporters. Any guesses? No? Okay, let me tell you. A common one, rather I should say, a very famous one is the P-glycoprotein. Yes, and you would be delighted that it's specially designed for xenobiotics. Okay, let's stop. I just want to ask you a riddle at this particular point of time. Yes, I really want to strike when the iron is hot. Quickly let me know how many times have we said or you have heard the terms in this particular podcast episodes, the term xenobiotics. Okay, now this is a golden term, xenobiotic, and it sounds really mesmerizing. I think around 10 times we have said it, we have talked about it till now. Don't agree? Okay, then let me know it. I just want to know that how much attention or how much you are getting out of this whole talk. But please don't spam my mailbox with the answers. Please don't do that. Okay, now let's talk further. Fifth characteristic. There can be a good healthy competition for similar transport systems or mechanisms. And that occurs only when the drugs or substrates, they have a similar structural characteristics. Sixth characteristic of this particular type of transport is that, now let's get into the depth of this. There can occur saturation of this transport mechanism too. Now this mechanism, as you have understood till now, it is totally dependent and revolving and rotating around the carrier availability. If that becomes totally capacity limited, then the whole mechanism is saturated. I hope you're getting. That's the basic idea behind this particular point. Now these were all the characteristics of this particular uphill type of transport, or what we call as active transport. But there are different types of transports. Yes, I'm talking about the different types of active transports. The driving force differentiates this whole process of active transport mechanism into two types. And today we are going in details of the first one, that is the primary active transport. Let's talk about its features, and that too in points. The first one, direct coupling with ADP hydrolysis occurs. And why? Because this whole process, it's energy dependent. Second, now the carrying is occurring via the capital A, capital B and capital C transporters. And let me expand this whole ABC for you. A stands for ATP, B stands for binding and C for cassette. So that makes it ADP binding cassette transporters. Its classical example is what I told you just now. We talked about it, that is P-glycoprotein. Now, these work by the function of evacuating and maintaining the efflux of the drugs in one particular single direction. Now, ABC, capital ABC transporters, they have intracellular loops which entwine in itself, energizing ADPase activity. Now the drugs, they are sent to the extracellular fluid or to any cellular organ like endoplasmic reticulum, or they can be sent to the mitochondrion. Now what are these drugs? Well, let the mystery unwind. They may be anti-cancer, anticonvulsants or antibiotics. Okay? Now before I jump over to the secondary active transport, that is the second type of mechanism, let's encore few words about the P-glycoprotein. Yes, I'm again laying again and again stress on this particular type of transporter, and you ought to know few important things about it because it's really important. First of all, its sites. They are intestinal mucosa, kidney, bile canaliculi, brain capillary, etc. Second important point is that P-glycoprotein, it encodes multi-drug resistant 1 gene. It effluxes out many drugs, and by doing so, it is inhibiting their absorption, their brain penetration, etc. Now, one ecstatic fact worth mentioning here is that foreign drugs and substances, they may induce or inhibit this P-glycoprotein, and at the same time they may also inhibit and induce the metabolizing enzymes like capital CYP3A4. Now these two processes, they are acting at the same time on P-glycoprotein, and they are acting also on the metabolizing enzymes like CYP3A4. Now these processes, they can be additive and rather they are actually synergistic. And what is the outcome? It helps in detoxification of the foreign substances or drugs, or again I want to say xenobiotics. Okay? Now like P-glycoprotein, there may be more of these primary active transporters. They can be first capital MRP2, that is multi-drug resistant associated protein, and capital BCRP, which is expanded as breast cancer resistant protein. Okay, now I'm wondering whether to start off the discussion here of secondary active transport or not. And what I decided I'm going to tell you is that I'm going to spill over this carrier transport pudding leftovers in my next episode. And yes, why? The only reason is that exploring the corners of your mindset that are well functioned to comprehend and retain all the knowledge pearls is not my goal. Yes, certainly not. Okay, till we converse over another virtual round table decorated with our books, cakes, and coffee, keep up your bright and curious spirits high. For all the updates and latest episodes of my podcast, please visit www.ispharmacologydifficult.com, where you can also sign up for a free monthly e-newsletter of mine. It actually contains a lot of updates about my medical sciences, drug information, updates, and my podcast updates also. You can follow me on different social media handles like Twitter, Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn. They all are with the same name, is Pharmacology Difficult. If you are listening for the first time, do follow me here, whatever platform you are consuming this episode. Stay tuned. Do rate and review on iTunes, Apple Podcast. Stay safe, stay happy, stay enlightened. Thank you.